All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're breaking down what really feels like the final decisive round in a heavyweight debate about the future of money itself. So, in one corner, you've got Michael Saylor, a huge proponent for Bitcoin, and in the other, Frank Giustra, a staunch advocate for gold. And these two are really clashing over a huge question. Which asset is going to dominate the markets of tomorrow? All right, let's get right into it. Frank Giustra is throwing the first punch, and he's aiming right at the foundation of Bitcoin's celebrated success story. So, Giustra's first real challenge is this. He looks at those absolutely incredible growth numbers you always hear about from Bitcoin supporters, and he's basically saying, hey, wait a minute, that's not the whole story. So, this is where it gets really interesting, right? Giustra totally reframes the numbers. You know that legendary 196% annual growth for Bitcoin? Well, he argues that's only if you were one of the very first people to buy in. For anyone who's invested more recently, that number is way, way lower. And to make his point, he pulls out this killer fact. Even gold had an amazing 9-year run where it grew 42% a year. So his whole argument is, look, you can make any asset look incredible if you just pick the perfect, cherry-picked timeline. Okay, so then he really raises the stakes. He moves on to what he calls the ultimate test for any so-called safe haven asset. The big question is, how does it actually hold up when the markets are in a complete and utter freefall? And wow, this chart just lays it all out, doesn't it? During that massive market crash back in March 2020, gold took a hit, sure, but it only dropped 8%. Bitcoin, it absolutely plummeted by 40%. That's 5 times worse. So for Giustra, this is a huge red flag. It raises some serious questions about whether you can really count on Bitcoin when things get ugly and everyone's looking for a safe place to park their money. So here's the bottom line for Giustra, and it's a powerful one. Gold has been through it all. We're talking centuries of crises, and it's always survived. And that, he says, is a test that Bitcoin, for all its hype and all its potential, just hasn't faced yet. Okay, so that's Giustra's take. Now let's switch gears and see how Michael Saylor fires back. And what's interesting is he doesn't really get bogged down in arguing about the past. Instead, he paints this absolutely massive vision for what Bitcoin's future is going to look like. See, Saylor's argument isn't just a defense, it's a full-on offensive strategy for the future. He built his whole case on 3 huge pillars where he thinks Bitcoin is about to change everything. We're talking energy, money, and finance. So first up, energy. This is a wild concept. Saylor says Bitcoin miners are willing to pay up to 45 cents for a kilowatt hour of electricity. Now, think about your own power bill. You're probably paying something like 13 cents. So what does that mean? Well, for Saylor, it's this huge economic green light. It gives companies a massive incentive to go out and build new clean energy projects in the middle of nowhere, basically turning wasted power into pure gold, or, well, pure Bitcoin. His second pillar is that Bitcoin is truly borderless money. Think about it. If you own a skyscraper in Manhattan, it's stuck there, tied to US laws and taxes. But with Bitcoin, you can hold it, send it, and receive it literally anywhere on the planet. It's creating this global marketplace for value that, honestly, we've never seen before. And finally, pillar 3, finance. Saylor looks at companies like PayPal and Square getting into Bitcoin, and he sees that as just the first little ripple in the pond. He wants you to imagine the absolute tidal wave that's coming when the real giants, we're talking Google, Apple, Amazon, with their billions of users, finally plug in. He thinks that single wave could make the entire market 100 times bigger than it is today. And he draws this really stark contrast with gold. He claims gold mining is 20 times more expensive, and what does it pay for? Just digging metal out of the ground. But Bitcoin's mining cost, he argues that cost is actually paying for something incredible. A super secure global financial network for literally billions of people. But hold on. Giustra gets the last word here, and he comes back with this very grounded, very pragmatic reality check. He says Saylor's incredible vision completely ignores one giant, immovable obstacle. And that brick wall, it's governments. Giustra's point is simple but powerful. There is no way that governments and central banks are just going to sit back and willingly give up control over money. He believes they're going to see Bitcoin as a direct threat to their power, and when that happens, they will do everything they can to crush it. So, after all that, we're left with these 2 totally different, completely competing visions for what the future of value even looks like. And really, the whole debate boils down to this one choice. On one hand, you've got Bitcoin's promise of this incredible, digitally engineered, borderless future. On the other, you have gold's time-tested resilience. It's the physical element that's been money for literally thousands of years, through all kinds of chaos. And that brings us to the final, huge question that we're going to leave with you. Will the future be built on lines of code, or will it be forged in gold? The answer to that is probably going to define the next 100 years of finance.